Hey, Designated Survivor, Season 1, Episode 3, The Confession, and I was looking forward to this episode, definitely. As you guys know, I haven't been that high on this show. The things have been really good. I've said are really good, such as Kiefer Sutherland and the plot overall. I just felt that so far the show hasn't been doing the greatest stuff, but I was hoping that last week's episode was just a little bit slow, and not only was this episode, I think, the worst of the bunch of the three, but this was even slower than last week. I really wanted to like this episode, and I want to like the show in general, but it's just not really delivering, I have to say. And while this episode did have some good stuff to it, there were a lot of things that definitely did piss me off a little bit, but let's just get in this episode because I do want to talk about it. There's just not really a ton to talk about, to be honest with you, because I really don't have a ton to say about the show, but let's just get into it. So we start off, we see Wells is watching as the survivors pull out of the mess at the Capitol, and let me just say the best stuff in this episode has to do with Wells. I'm really liking Wells as a character. I think she's very interesting overall, and I really like where her storyline is going, definitely. And the guy's in bad shape. It's a congressman named Peter MacLeish, so he's actually the sole survivor that's been found, and the guy is a decorated war hero, and he's also very popular. So Emily, Aaron, and Seth are watching it on the news as Kirkman comes into the Oval Office. He thanks them for coming in early. Seth is working on the former president's eulogy, and he says his son Tyler is coming in to help. Aaron says they're looking for verification of the source of the attacks, and Emily says he's got an interview with Elizabeth Vargas, and things were off to a good start, but then right off the bat, the lights are flickering, everyone begins to panic. Aaron says that there should not be a blackout, they worry that they might be under attack, and I'm just thinking, it's the third episode, and we're already talking about a second attack. It's kind of ridiculous, and the lights come on, but the phones are dead. They realize that it's a digital intrusion, and they show that someone's headed for the Oval Office. Ritter goes running. Ritter tells him to get away from his computer. They tell him that the White House was hacked and gather up all the computers. Later, Kirkman gets an update, and Seth says the public won't like this, and Kirkman asks what they were after. Ritter says they don't know who it was yet or what they were after, and Kirkman worries if it's the same people that bombed the Capitol, because he's really worried that they're going to strike again. And Seth wants to cancel Vargas, but they decide it looks bad. Obviously, canceling her, just looks like a bad thing. So Aaron pushes Kirkman on choosing a chief of staff, and I thought this part was interesting. Kirkman scoffs him, sends his team out, and we see Wells is at the office looking at the board of the victims from the attack. MacLeish is moved over to the blank survivors board, and Wells wonders how the guy survived. She doesn't really understand. There was this huge attack, and there was this huge, bomb and everything. How the hell could he have survived? And Atwood says that it happened. He thinks that's possible, but she really has no idea how it could happen. So she wants to go talk to MacLeish and get his statement, and Atwood reluctantly agrees that she can go, but the only computer hacked, so basically it seems like, she's going to try to figure out what's going on there. So the only computer hacked, we find out, was actually Kirkman's, and they find a file on Kirkman's computer that looked like it came from overseas, and Aaron's then hassling Emily about being a bit late to work. She says that her boyfriend proposed to her that morning. Aaron says it always happens after disaster. Emily says he wants her to say yes so he can get chief of staff. Aaron denies it and says she's lucky, and I do like the comedic banter between these two, but we know next to nothing about them. All we really know about Emily is that she was the advisor to Kirkman, and Aaron, all we know is that he kind of doesn't really trust Kirkman right now. So neither of these characters I especially care about. I care about Emily kind of, but at the same time, I just don't really care as much, and I don't really feel they're utilizing the supporting cast that well. They're utilizing Wells, and they're utilizing Kirkman well, but the supporting cast, they're really not doing that much with, I have to say. So Aaron and Emily then meet with Kimball about cabinet choices since she's all of Congress. She asks about the security issue that morning. She says that she saw the IT staff moving computers from the West Wing, and they fibbed to her, but then Aaron and Emily are called away from the meet, and Kirkman tells Aaron and Emily that no data was taken, but something was left, and it's a message from Majid Nazar, and confirms that Al-Sakar is taking credit from the attack, and General Cochran is smug, says now they know the enemy. And again, I'm really not into this character, the General. I just think he's really cartoony, and basically they post a video online, and I thought this was interesting we saw that, but the military people tell him that it's a match for Majid Nazar. Kirkman asks why not just release it on Al Jazeera like normal, and says it doesn't feel right. Another advisor tells him that sometimes the group takes credit for attacks that they didn't do, and Kirkman asks them for doubts. Atwood stands and says one of his agents has a theory that the evidence was manipulated to point to Al-Sakar intentionally, and that Al-Sakar isn't really the one that did this, and that they're just framing Al-Sakar. So I thought that was kind of interesting that we saw that. So Howard says his agent is solid. Cochran asks for his orders. Kirkman thinks that and says that the video says keep the video quiet. They find Nazar right now, no matter what cave he's hiding in. And Kirkman shows the video to Kimball and says since she's Congress, he wants to loop her in, but doesn't want it to go public yet. So Kirkman says it could prompt a national call to arms, and Kimball thinks it's a good idea. But Kirkman says uniting American through war may not be the best route. It just doesn't seem like a really good idea. You know, he doesn't want to call war, as we know. And also, Kirkman likes to stay out of conflict. We definitely do see that, and it's kind of starting to be annoying that Kirkman doesn't really want to do anything, but as we know, he's an independent. You know, he didn't really want this position in the first place, and he really doesn't know how to handle it. So Kimball says she'll do what he asks and wishes him luck with Vargas in the interview. So we see Wells goes to meet with MacLeish at the hospital, asks how he is. He says he's lucky to be alive. Wells asks about the evidence of the night, and MacLeish says that he was sitting in his seat watching the president speak. Then everything just went black. So he talks about he's the only survivor. He's surprised her when he grabs her and pulls her closer, says, please let me know what you find out. And basically, it seems that he knows something, and that definitely, it seems like he, in general, doesn't really know a ton of what's going on, and he needs information. So it seems like he's innocent, at least it seems that way, but we'll have to see. So Kirkman then meets with Tyler, the dead president's son, and Seth is there too and asks for Tyler's input on the eulogy. Tyler says his father was a great man, but he was just dad to him, and he says that he had the hardest job in the world, but he was still always there for him, and now he's not. And I really wish that Tyler was Kirkman's son, because this kid seems normal, seems like a normal teenager. And then we get to the thing that I was least interested in this episode. As you guys know, I was glad to see that Leo was barely in the last episode, and guess what happens here? We see Alex and Penny, they're unpacking Leo's stuff for him in chat. Penny finds a packet of pills, hands them to Alex, who covers for him. She opens the drawer, also finds a whole wad of cash, and I'm just like, oh great, now we're gonna be starting this shit up. And it's not that I don't think they could be handling this well, it's just I don't think you can handle this well on a basic network. I feel like if you're on a cable network, like an HBO, like say a premium network, like an HBO or a Showtime, you can handle this well, but if you're on something like ABC, you can't really handle this that great, and I really was not looking forward to this at all, as you guys know. The kid in general looks like Chris from Fear the Walking Dead, so that kind of pissed me off as well, but I really was not looking forward to this. So Emily gives Kirkman last-minute notes, and Aaron is there too. Kirkman sits for the interview with Elizabeth Vargas, who brings up Royce and the near riots, and Kirkman is trying to stay very positive. We see Vargas asks how he was HUD secretary and now President Kirkman. He says he never had presidential aspirations because he didn't. He never aspired to be anything more than what he was, and Vargas asked him about President Richmond firing him the day he died, and asked if he has no business being president of the United States, and Kirkman steps away to speak to Aaron and Emily. Aaron says he has no idea how they got that info because no one knew that. I mean, that was very confidential information. So Emily says, tell the truth, says he wasn't fired. Aaron says, don't admit to it. And Aaron and Emily bickers. She says that he can't start his presidency with a lie. He goes back, takes a seat. Kirkman then asks her to ask the question again. He says he was offered an ambassadorship and had not accepted yet. And Vargas asks if the president wanted him gone. And Kirkman says yes, because that's true. We know that. And Wells then looks at the footage of the Capitol, and at MacLeish in his seats. The footage cut out before the explosion, we find out, and she looks at another angle and sees a woman with a camera. She asks to download with the woman's cloud, and she says to get it, and says it's the greatest act of terror since 9/11. She says they have to play dirty and tells him to hack the account. So Leo searches for his drawer for his pills and cash, and Alex confronts him, asks if it's MDMA. She says her son is a drug dealer, says possession with intent, says his little sister found it and it would have killed her, and Alex is leave for the funeral, but tells Leo they're not done with this. They head for the funeral. Thank God that that's over for this episode, because I'm just not into this at all. And knowing that this is going to be a major thing going forward, I'm not looking forward to it. I don't know why the show feels that it's a good idea. It doesn't at all go with what's going on. I don't really know why we have to have the drug dealer teenager. Why can't we just have a regular teenager, honestly? I would be perfectly fine if we just had a regular teenager. We don't need Leo to have this huge role that he does. I don't know why the show insists on doing that. It just seems like they're doing that just to give Alex something to do. You're telling me you can't give her something more interesting to do? Maybe have her do something as the first lady. I mean, Think of all the stuff like Michelle Obama's done with like healthy foods and things like that. Why don't you give her something like that? Give her something actually interesting as the first lady. Don't just make her have this weird thing with her son. I'm really not into this at all, and I think it's just really predictable where that's going. So Kirkman asks Alex what's up. She says it's Leo, but it can wait. They head inside where the president's body lies in state. Seth hands him his speech. Tyler approaches and says he saw his interview clip and says his dad fired him. He won't let him use his dad's funeral as a PR stunt. Emily says he can't do that and says that he's the president. Kirkman says they'll respect his wishes for now, and Kirkman tells Alex what Tyler said. Tyler takes the podium and says his dad loved his job and the people he worked with. This was actually a pretty good scene, just seeing how Tyler felt about his dad and everything, and he says he has someone there. His father spoke with great respect. He introduces Kimball. Alex says this is bad. Kirkman says this is what you get for being honest in DC opportunists. And Kimball takes the podium, delivers a eulogy that Kirkman should have. We don't know why Kirkman's not giving it, but Kimball's giving it. And she calls Richmond her friend. She makes a passionate speech that earns her a standing ovation. As we know, Kimball really does not feel that Kirkman deserves this position. And Kirkman has no choice but to stand too. I do like the clashing going on between those two. I think it's interesting overall. So outside, Ritter tells Alex that Leo left the White House. Kirkman, and we don't know, hopefully he's not coming back. I really hope that Leo doesn't come back, because I really am not liking his character. But Kirkman gives Kimball the cold shoulder. Seth, Aaron, and Emily then check in on social media that shows a wave of negativity about Kirkman. They really are not liking him as a president, and I think that was a pretty good scene, the way that we saw the public perception of him, but Ritter then takes Alex to Leo, who went back up to their old house. Leo tells Alex he doesn't know why he did it. He says he knows he screwed up and people do stuff without reasons. Alex says the White House did not cause their problems. Those problems are already there. She says she didn't tell his dad yet, and she tells Leo to be at a family dinner. Then they'll deal with it. She grabs a pick off the fridge and leaves. Kirkman then leaves a voicemail for Tyler. Seth comes in to chat. He tells him that he ran in some staffers that were close to the president, and he says that Tyler hadn't talked to his dad for the last 2 years, we find out, and Seth and Kirkman then see a leak of the video, and the president says he thinks Kimball leaked the video. He's angry, wants her on the phone now. He says Tyler hadn't talked to his dad for the last 2 years, and Seth and Kirkman actually... Oh, I just read this, so... Basically, we see that Kirkman brings her in, reams her. Kimball says she didn't leak the video, but says good for him. She says it will take the attention of his Vargas interview. Kirkman says that group may not have done the attack. Kimball says that, like it or not, he has to act and is a commander-in-chief and really has no choice but to do something. You know, he needs to take a strike. And Kirkman asks if it's true. She doesn't want to be president. She says for now, then makes it clear that she'll run later. And obviously, she doesn't really trust Kirkman. But at the same time, there's not really much she can do. So I do like the clashing going on there. So Atwood then calls in Wells, asks for the hack she asked for. He says that it's not the Wild West. He says she's jeopardizing the case, and Wells says she understands. Atwood says that Scott Wheeler is among the confirmed dead, and she's stunned and tearful. I guess this was the Scott that she was crying over and realizing that he is dead. I mean, I honestly really did feel for her, because that was how she really got thrown in this whole situation. You know, she lost someone very near and dear to her. We still don't know the relationship, though, and that's the thing that's missing. Why does she care so much about Scott Wheeler? What was the relationship between these two? I'm hoping that we find out what that is, and we'll have to see, but Atwood tells her story, and she was involved with Scott, and is surprised Atwood knew the guy was actually married, and she says that he told her he was leaving his wife, and apparently they had some sort of an affair. So Wells says she went too far, but Atwood says the hack request was just one bad call. He says make good ones from now on. Hannah agrees, and I'm looking forward to seeing what their relation was like overall, you know, like this affair. I mean, I'm into this. Yeah, it could be cliche, but I like that we now know what their relation was at least. So Aaron hears from his team that the Oust the Car video has changed the conversation. He tells Kirkman that it changed things. Kirkman tells Aaron that he knew he leaked the video. Aaron says he did the best thing for him. He says the country will untie behind him, and Kirkman says he's not ready to declare war, and they're still not sure. So Kirkman says that was insubordinate to him when he leaked it. Aaron says lots of people would love to see Kirkman fail, but he wants him to help him strive and succeed. And Aaron says he thinks he made the best move for him. He then offers him a letter of resignation, says he can accept it any time, and Kirkman takes it from him. Tom stashes the letter in his desk, and then Tyler shows up as requested. Kirkman sits to talk to him and says he owes him an apology. Kirkman says he has a story for him, and Tyler asks if it's the one where he got fired. And he tells him that his dad was a recital of his last year, hidden away in the back. Says he talked an hour in a cabinet meeting about his performance. Kirkman then gives him a program, says he gave them all out to the cabinet members, and says his dad was so proud of him. So Tyler asks if he can keep the program. He thanks Kirkman, calls him Mr. President. Tyler leaves, and Wells is crying in her car later, probably knowing that, Scott died, and her phone chimes. It's Chuck, the FBI hacker. She says she needs to come see the video feed ASAP, and Kirkman calls Emily in to talk. She says that she was right to tell him to be honest, says he's thinking about his chief of staff position. He says he's going with Aaron, and she's stunned, obviously, because, and this, I actually really like this scene, because these two have been working together forever. You know, she thought that she was a shoo-in, but no, he's picked Aaron, and he says he needs someone who can think differently from him and her, and Kirkman says he still needs her, and this position is beyond what they expected, and he's scared. He says he's scared he'll fail the nation and is going to appoint her as a special advisor so she has full access because he needs her by his side. She's someone who knows how to calm him down. They've been working for so long. He needs her. And Emily thanks him, says she'll speak up when she disagrees with Aaron. She thanks him and goes. Kirkman then looks at the clock and says family dinner and sighs. Aaron is in his new office, pulls out a bottle to celebrate. Emily comes by to congratulate him. She says that she got a fiance and he got a job, but she says she told the guy no, it seems, and Emily then tells Aaron not to get too comfortable because that position gets replaced all the time. So she kind of is thinking that maybe she's going to get it at some point. So Kirkman sees the empty table. He goes to sit. The door opens. Penny comes to hug him. He asks why she's up so late. Alex says they waited up, and Alex says that Leo is over at a friend's house, but Leo is there and says he changed his mind. He sits down, says family dinner, they smile, and for a moment they just have this moment of normalcy, which is something that they don't really have now. But Wells then comes to see Chuck, who says he hacked the cloud. The woman caught 2 photos before the explosion. In the second one, MacLeish is gone. So definitely there's more going on with this MacLeish guy than we think. We'll have to see. But Chuck says the guy wasn't there. That's how he survived. And basically that he, I guess, faked what was happening to him. I don't really know where this is going, but Kirkman calls Aaron, says he forced his hand today by releasing that video, so now he needs to make sure they find Al-Sakar fast. Aaron agrees, said goodnight. Aaron then meets with a woman who hands over a file on Kirkman. He asks if there's anything good in it. She says it depends on whose side you're on, and that is the way the episode ends. Very interesting stuff overall, but let's just get into this episode and talk about, you know, what I like and what I don't like. Like I said, this episode really was a mixed bag for me. I didn't dislike this episode, but I didn't really love it either. There's a lot of potential in this show, so a lot of it being with Wells. I really am liking this character overall. I like where she's headed. I'm interested in seeing a relationship with, Scott, the way that turned out, because now that we know these two are in an affair, I'm looking forward to finding out more about that. We'll have to see where that's going to go. And then as far as this guy, Chuck, it definitely seems like MacLeish, there's something off about him. I don't know if he's lying. I don't know if he doesn't remember, but definitely there's something off about MacLeish that we don't know yet, and I'm looking forward to seeing where his character is going, because I don't really know where he's headed, and that makes me all the more interested in what's really going on. Then we'll have to see where that goes, because I think that's going to be very interesting as far as what's going on with MacLeish. As far as Emily goes, I really like that we see Emily, and now it seems like, she still thinks that she could possibly be a role in Kirkman, but it really seems like Aaron is not on his side. I don't know, I'm not getting the most trustworthy vibe from Aaron, so if I were Kirkman, I really would not have appointed Aaron. He does not seem like the most trustworthy guy. He seems very shady, and I really would not trust him, especially given that ending. I really do not trust Aaron because of that. I don't really know where that's going to go, but we'll have to see. It definitely seems like he has some sort of intel on Kirkman, and I definitely think he's not on his side. We'll have to see what's going on there. Al-Sakar, again, I don't really know what's going on with the whole terrorist thing. We'll have to see. I literally could not care less about Leo. I don't care what's going on there. I just hope that he stops selling drugs, because I want to be a normal teenager, and I don't need all this bullshit going on with that. I think it was really dumb overall. The problem with this show right now is that it's just lacking the thing that's really keeping me watching, because the cast in the show is very good. I don't think there's a single bad actor in this cast. The problem with the show is the execution. They're just not really doing much with it. This episode was very filler, and now that the show is 22 episodes, I really feel this is going to be a very slow burn, and I don't really think that's the way to go. I don't think we're focusing enough on his presidency. We're focusing on things like meeting I think it was interesting the way this episode was done, but just the way it focused on this video and things like that, I really was not as big as a fan of. I think there's already a little bit too much going on. And in general, I'm just not really loving the show all that much. And look, guys, I'm going to give it one more episode. I'll tell you that. One more episode, and then I will decide if I really want to stick with the show. Right now, the show really isn't doing much for me. I'm watching it. I think it's okay, but it's just not really doing that much for me, I have to say. But that's really it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode overall. Love to your thoughts on it. Like I said, the show just, I think, is way too focused right now on the attack and not as much on the characters. Like that really interesting thing with Seth last week, we barely focused on it this week. I wish we would have done more with that this week, but we really didn't. But that's my review. Hope you all enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be finally for the series premiere of Big Brother Over the Top. I know you guys have been waiting for that. I will finally be reviewing that, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.